Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Chad.
Get ready to set the table for our second serving this month on Jeepers Creepers 2.
Billy, you check the other two. Make sure they're wired up good.
A lot of good they're doing.
How long can they keep this up? Forever.
We are down and disabled out on East 9. Anyone read me?
It's gonna be dark in about an hour.
There's something going on out here, and I don't like it.
Every 23rd spring.
What's it doing up there?
For 23 days.
I had a dream.
He was trying to warn all of us that this thing has been around for thousands of years. Nothing has been able to kill it.
It gets to eat.
There are two classes of people now. What the will be eaten and the won't be eaten.
Welcome to day 23.
We thought it was trying to come in, but this frickin' thing was making sure we couldn't get out.
All you kids, get down! Go, go!
It isn't dead.
Looks dead to me.
Jeepers Creepers 2.
Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Now, see, I feel like someone listened to that song and they were like, you know what, let's make a fucking movie about that, and in the end, we're gonna take fucking somebody's eyes.
Yeah, that's probably exactly how that went, because they didn't really use it in this one, though. Just
No,
the
they
first
didn't.
one.
Which is stupid, I feel, because in the first one, they made it a point, like, every time it was always playing fucking somewhere in the background, and that was, like, the way of, like, whatever it coming, like, you knew that's when it was gonna come when the song came on. It wasn't, like, the whole thing of the movie.
Well, the two, but he was also coming for Dustin Long's eyes.
Well, okay, yes, he was coming for his eyes, but I'm just saying, oh, okay, I see what you, okay. Well, I had only seen maybe 15 or 20 minutes of this movie years ago, and I was like, this movie is terrible. Never saw it again. So this is actually the first time I've seen this film.
I saw it back when it came out, but I don't think I've seen it maybe one more time since then. Like when I bought like a double set of DVDs a few years ago. I think I sat down and watched them both, but I hadn't seen it in years, so it was kind of I remembered the basic gist of it, but I didn't remember a lot of the details.
Well, what's the basic thing? Every 23rd spring for 23 days,
he gets to eat. And this fucker's a pig, man. He eats a lot.
He is so damn nasty. He's like, you know what? I just ate like 4,000 people. Those were snacks. Now I'm ready to get the grub on.
Yeah, I wish they'd be a little more clear. Like, it says he needs to eat. Does he need to eat, like, a certain part? They said he takes what he needs from people. So does he need to eat, like, 23 people every spring? Or does he need to eat 50 people? They're really kind of unclear.
No, he just eats and eats and eats. I think he's like a bear where he like goes around and like grabs everything up that he needs, throws that bitches in the cave, and then he eats for the 23 years. Because he's
got corpses, like laying around. He's got them kind of like dried meat hanging around there.
Exactly. So he's just storing them. Some of them he does eat and take out like right away because he's hungry. And then I think that he just goes and just nibbles because like he's not gonna gorge himself and then not eat for 23 years.
Yeah.
Especially if he has like a whole cave. Like remember in the first one, that was like the whole church where the people found.
Like sticking on the walls. Like he made some kind of weird outsider art.
He's like, yeah, I'm an artiste, sculpting things.
I really wanted to see him like down in the cave, like putting somebody on the wall, then like putting his finger to his lips and like, I don't know. I don't really think he fits there. Let me just pull him off the wall and put him, over here on the left. That's where he's perfect.
He's like fucking Tetrising it.
Yeah, he's trying to get them all in there just right.
Well, this film takes place on the 22nd and 23rd day.
Yep.
From the first movie. So it's actually the first and the second movie are actually within the same month.
Yeah, they're in the same 23-day cycle.
So
which the whole point of that first one was that like, hey, this way we don't have to do any sequels. But they were like, oh no, he can still be on that same month.
Yeah, and he gets his grub on and he just eats a ton of people in this film. And I don't know. I feel like before we get into like the whole thing of it all, he was kind of corny. He was so corny in some things. Like he was his mannerisms and like he was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna eat you." Like he doesn't talk obviously, but just some of the things that he did was kind of very corny.
It was kind of like they were trying to go for, in the first one he was just kind of this dark figure coming after people, and he really didn't say much or do anything except like the one time I think he kind of like when he was eating like the one cop's head, he like bit the tongue out and kind of. They really didn't do anything that cheesy or corny in it that I remember.
It's like there's only one Freddy. We don't need another Freddy. Not everyone could pull off like the, fucking humor.
Yeah, and especially when you don't talk.
Yeah.
So
that's like Michael Myers trying to make jokes. Like he's like, ooh, putting his finger like over his lips and like doing
shushing
weird
people or something.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they tried to kind of play it up because they were like, hey, this is the sequels. And in the sequels, Freddy got funny. Well, yeah, but Jason didn't. Michael didn't. You don't need to. Not every slasher character needs to be a humorous one,
Well, the film opens up with a very recognizable scene. If you had seen, other films where there are scarecrows, it's that whole scarecrow thing.
Yeah, if you ever go to a farm and you see the scarecrow, stay the fuck away from it.
You're like, no, I'm good. Just
nothing
walk away.
good ever happened with the scarecrow on the farm. It never actually scared any crows away. It does kill the shit out of people, but never works as a scarecrow.
Well, day 22, there's a family, a father and two sons. One of them is probably around 11 or 12 years old, if I had to take a good guess.
Yeah, the other one's probably in his late teens, maybe early 20s.
Yeah. And Mr. Creeper, he grabs the little boy in the cornfield. It's a cornfield, of course. That's, where scarecrows hang out. And I did like the fact, I had seen it many times in Dark Night of the Scarecrow and Tales from the Crypt, I think. Maybe Patricia Arquette, where she falls in love with the Scarecrow and he kind of like helps her like kill the family. I'm very vague on that one, but there's an episode where there's like she falls in love with the Scarecrow. Well, where they show like multiple scarecrows, but one of them is the one that's gonna move and that's alive, and he steps off the fucking thing. You're like, oh shit! It was that kind of scenario in this one where there's 3 scarecrows.
They had it very much set up like the crucifixion scene of Christ, where there's the one cross that's a little taller than the others and 2 other guys behind him. It was very much set up like that. Which I don't know what they're trying to imply, but maybe just like the visual.
Probably just like the visual. And this little boy gets swooped up. And of course, like in all things, when it comes to children getting swooped up and thrown up in the air, family sees this and they're like, I'ma take revenge on this motherfucker.
Yeah, especially when you got Ray Wise as the dad. Ray Wise, who has been in every damn thing that came out for like the last, 40 years. He shows up in it at some point.
Highlights of the film, the montage.
Yes.
There's a montage right after that where, not right after, but at the beginning of the movie where Ray Wise is building some kind of, he's like making weapons. It's like an 80s, like, it's like the welding scene for me, like in Flashdance, where she's like working and doing all this stuff and there's like sparks coming out.
I was thinking of kind of like a MacGyver type thing. He's MacGyvering this thing together out of shit that he's got on the farm, and it's like, Okay, all right. He's got some skills. He definitely, like, in just a few hours, whips up this awesome weapon to go after the creeper. And it's like, you should have been doing this all along, because I'm sure they had uses other than what you did for it.
Well, day 23 rolls around, the last day. And let me tell you, he was like, you know what? This is my last day up above the ground. I've decided that I'm actually going to eat every fucking thing on the menu. I'm gonna take you, number 5, number 3, number 2, number 1, all of it. He takes everybody. It's a school of young men,
mostly
group
guys,
of, like
it's
football players, right?
Yeah, I think are they basketball?
I don't know. There's some kind of players. Did they even mention that? I don't know.
They might have, but to me, I care so little about sports. They
Likewise.
could have been like, hey, we're out playing Blernsball. And I'd have been like, cool, that's a great looking Blernsball team you got there.
They were champions. That's all I knew. I think they were football players because they had varsity jackets, and
you can get that for basketball too.
I haven't seen a lot of basketball players with varsity jackets. I only see football players with varsity jackets. They usually wear like the thin, like shiny jackets, like the basketball players.
But again, like I said, they could be playing the damn game from Battlestar Galactica.
They're playing Quidditch.
Yeah, they'd be Quidditch, Battlestar Galactica, the one they were playing on the old show on that. It could be any of them. I wouldn't know.
Then you have like the girlfriends. There's like 4 girls.
The cheerleaders, conveniently.
Of course. Well, you can't have a traveling football Quidditch team and not have cheerleaders. And then you have like the mascot, the coach, the assistant coach, the bus driver, like the 4 adults. You know what? Let's just skip all this. The 4 adults get murdered immediately. Like,
yeah, like they wasted no time. They were just gone. It was like, oh, shit, okay, they're gone fast.
One of their tires gets blown out, and when they go to inspect the tire, it's actually some like crazy welded together talon / like it's like were those his toenails? Like what the?
Yeah, they were like bone
Ninja Star.
Yeah, it was like a weird combination. It's like an organic ninja star that he made and like threw into the tire. Which, the question is like, he can make all these tools and everything. I don't know. He's got a lot of shit to do in that warehouse or cave or whatever it is he's staying in.
I mean, he's in there for 23 years. That's like us right now being in quarantine. Like, people are learning how to do all kinds of things in this quarantine. Cook, speak languages, like scratch your balls the right way. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do.
But yeah, so I love how he busts the one tire during the daytime. It slows him down just long enough that it's nighttime before he busts the other tire. And then from that point on, it's on. I think you made the comment of like, when you were a kid, it's got to be scary when the adults come in and start cussing at you, because all the teachers and everything in the school never cussed, they never said anything. And whenever you heard the teacher cuss, you're like, oh, shit's about to get real. Something bad's about to happen. I only ever heard that one time with a kid in one of my classes that was freaking out, and the teacher told him to set his ass down. It's like, oh, okay. You have really pushed this man too far. He's gone over the edge now. And all he said was ass. So when the coach comes in and starts yelling, shut the fuck up and set the fuck down to people, you're like, oh, okay. Okay, there's some bad shit happening out here now.
They're getting swooped up in the midst of all this craziness happening down. Like, the kids are obviously in disarray. They don't know what the fuck is going on. They're stranded. They can't get anyone. None of the cell phones work. And this is like early, like what, mid, like 2000s?
It's 2003.
Yeah, so there's no iPhones. Like, this is pre-iPhone world.
Everybody was carrying flip phones. Or if you were real lucky, they had one of those Nokia brick phones. They might have been able to beat his ass to death with if they put it in a sock. And
they can't get any signal when they keep calling for help, distress call, over the school bus line or whatever.
The radio, yeah, the CB radio, ham radio, whatever they've got.
It's not working out. They're in the fucking cornfield. You're fucked. And they're not able to get anyone. And, everyone's, of course, like in all things, I mean, they kind of have like, I don't want to say social commentary, but there's like the mix of African-American kids and the white kids. And, there's already a strife going on between the QB1 and the quarterback, and the black kids, whatever, because, they got picked to play and he had to sit it out, and then they won and he wasn't able to get in the glory of it all because he's the one that's supposed to obtain the glory, whatever. His cock got in the way, basically. Guy bullshit. So, the guy bullshit's happening. Yeah. Minxie Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you've also got them dealing with the fact that they're all got a little homophobia going with all of them there. They're all afraid of the one kid they call it Izzy, because Izzy or isn't he?
Oh, yeah. There's a homophobic thing going on.
Yeah, they got that going on in there too. So the school bus is a little bit of a pressure cooker anyhow, much less when you throw a monster at him.
So there's a girl named Minxie.
That's a weird name, by the way.
Yeah, terrible. Minx for short. She's a random, cheerleader girl who all of a sudden, in the heat of the cornfield, is now going to have visions of Justin Long and the child that she'd never seen. She's never seen either of them, obviously. She sees the kid that got souped up in the beginning of the film, and Justin Long from the first movie, Danny Jenner. They're like in the cornfield, like talking and yelling and pointing to the cornfield, trying to tell her something. Probably like, this motherfucker coming, you need to do something, run away, he's gonna kill you, kind of thing. She gets like in a fucking crazy trance, and her eyeballs are like floating around her head.
And she wakes up with that typical like Hollywood sweat on her, where it's like she's got the perfect sheen of sweat on her face, her neck, and just a little bit of her chest that you can see, and then the rest of her is perfectly fine.
Dry as a bone.
Dry as a bone. Just that little square on her face there.
So in the flashback scene, they show Justin Long, and I looked over at Shad and said, Justin Long is in this shit? Like, what the fuck? Who comes back for a fucking cameo to a sequel to a film? Did it even go in the theater? Was that a theatrical? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember I told you I saw it in the theater.
Oh, that's right. You did say that. I'm like, what is going on right now? Did he not have anything going on? Was he not making Garden State at this time? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird they got him back. And that whole scene was... That's probably the biggest thing that bugged me about it, was because... There was no point for that scene.
No, there was a point in the scene. I'm going to tell you what it is right now.
They had to have someone come in and do exposition?
No. Well, that. And also, they had to show the tattoo that he had of his fucking... around his navel. Because then, later on, when they get the second tire blown out, guess whose skin is in the middle of this crazy Ninja Talent Star thing? It's Justin's long navel with the tattoo on it. So you're like, oh, yep. Obviously, we saw that he got his eye, spoiler alert, taken from the first film. So, he has to use these body parts, and he used that part to, it's, what if he's like, you know what? I'm not going to let this piece of skin go to use. This is decorative shit. I'm going to make a fucking Talon Ninja Star out of this.
Yeah, I get that was what they just wanted to let you know he died and how serious it was, but I feel like they could have had something else. Like, they could have had the bus pick someone up it just got away from the creeper and was saying, like, hey, that he came and he seemed like he just wanted something from each of us. Kind of explain it to him instead of having to have a just random psyche. And then she has that one vision, and that's it. Nothing else. She doesn't get any more insight into it, and nothing else really seems to happen.
There's no insight. I think she has two visions, like separate. Like, one is just very short, and then the other one...
She has like a brief little dream of the creeper, seeing the creeper throw the thing, and then she has the longer one where he explains it all to him. Yeah, because that's what sets off the first time she envisioned.
The second time she saw him like throw the ninja star at he was running in the cornfield adjacent to the school bus. They're already running on 5 tires from the blowout earlier, and then he throws the other one, and she sees that before it happens. As soon as she wakes up, that's when boom, they get knocked out again. Yeah. And then the second is when all the teachers are getting killed. I have my note on this was, how weak does your film have to be to put a random girl who has no history of being weird or psychic see visions? Because they even made a point. The QB1 even says, what the fuck, you're a cheerleader now who has visions? Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that's even the script was like, alright, we just gotta throw this shit in here. Like, if they'd had like the weird goth girl that was on the bus for some reason, like, oh, the goth girl is like the equipment manager or something, some stupid shit like that, or the goth guy is like, oh, they made him be the equipment manager as punishment for something. You were like, okay, like, I would have bought that if he was like the weird goth kid that no one wanted to hang around with, and maybe he was like, oh, I've heard of this is the creeper and all this, because that'd have made a little more sense, if he'd been on there and just explained like, oh, hey, I heard about this thing on the radio the other day where there's all these murders, and this is probably the same thing, and I would have bought that a little more than just a random psychic vision.
Yeah, that was weak plot point and a weak way to drive the story. And then the other thing is, I'm just like, oh goodness, like, what are you doing in this film? Like, you put all of this backstory and like you have some character development, But you don't care about any of these people. I don't. I didn't. And the other thing is, like, you spent half of the movie pointing out that this guy his sexuality is ambiguous. Is he gay? Is he not gay? So much time. If you're gonna do that, usually the direction would be just like having so much screen time or have conversations about it. This is the person that's gonna save them all. This is the person that's gonna be like, oh, we doubted you, we made fun of you, but you're gonna be the savior. No, everyone gets murdered. Like, spoiler alert. What was that about? I'm just like, why did you spend all this time? And then with the black kids, none of the black kids, like, you spent, it was just, you know what it is? It's just poor writing, obviously, but it's like, you know what? It's teenagers. They're all over the place. We don't really have to get deep into any of this stuff. It's a horror movie. Let's just have fun kind of thing.
Yeah, the only part where it kind of paid off a little bit is when the one kid is stuck to the tree by the knife later, and the quarterback that was kind of an asshole to the black kids earlier, and the one comes and tries to save him and is trying to pull the knife out before the creeper gets him. It's like, okay, well, he at least was like, look, you may be an asshole, but I'm not going to let you die.
Yes, and the QB1 does say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Like, he's apologizing to him while he's trying to take it out. Like, hey, I'm sorry for all the shit that I told you. Like, please help me, which he was. But, yeah, that doesn't
But, like, that's really the only, like, payoff to it, you know? Like you said, if they had banded together, like, you know, the black kids and the kid they thought was gay had got together and been the ones to save the day, and everybody had to be like, all right, you know, we really looked down on you and thought bad of you, and you ended up saving our ass. That'd have been a little bit more of a payoff to it, but it really just kind of was just background noise that, you know.
Well, the only payoff is that the father and son duo from the beginning, who had their montage of building all these, you know, weapons and stuff, you don't really see the contraption until the reveal later.
Yeah.
Is that they're, you know, he's the father's waiting for, he's listening to the CB radio and waiting for some word of some crazy shit.
Well, he's got the police scanner going.
Oh, the police scanner, okay. Going on, and that's when he hears the distress call from the, well, that's why I said the CB radio, because he has a distress call from the thing, and that wasn't coming from the police.
Yeah, he's got that in the car
bus.
listening to all that, too.
So,
they always mention it's like in Foho County. This is all supposed to be happening in Florida. I wonder if Foho County is supposed to be like Polk County.
Maybe.
Just believe me, that kind of shit could easily happen in Polk County.
It looks kind of Foho.
I've lived in Polk County and been around that area. It's pretty creepy down there. So easily I could see the creeper down that way.
Yeah, there are a lot of roads here, which if any of you live in the country or out in some like desert or something, you would definitely know, like, yeah, that looks creepy. I'm good. I'm just going to stay indoors in the nighttime.
Well, they filmed the original down here in Bradenton, Florida, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it might be around Polk County, around in that area.
Yeah, like one-way roads, like only, you know, one road, one side coming, the other side going.
Yeah.
You know, fields, a lot of land, no establishment. You're not going to run into a Barnes & Noble or like a Ross or anything like that.
You're not going to see anything. They didn't even see a good like gas station in this whole show.
No gas station. If it is, it's off, you know, off to the fucking side of the road where you got to go down like 5 miles, and it's like some weird old man, like fucking Friday the 13th style.
Yeah, I was going to say, or Cabin in the Woods. It's that guy running the fucking gas station.
You're going to be out of luck. I thought the film was okay. It wasn't the worst film I'd ever seen. Is that my tagline? That's like my thing. I always say that, right?
What is the worst one you've ever seen then, so we know how to judge this?
Oh, you have to know this. It's Blood Rain. That's the worst film I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's terrible. When you have, not to step away from Jeepers Creepers 2, but when you have actors trying to do a certain dialect and they just are not convincible because it's just totally terrible, that takes you out of the movie so fast. And then everyone is like, I'm trying to act because this is the way I should act, but I'm an actor. And it's like, guys, it's a movie about a video game. It's not that serious. Like, and they're all speaking like in like weird medieval tongue. It's just really bad. And then there's like a random sex scene in a jail. It's just a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie. It's so bad that when I went to go see Blood Rain in the theater, the movie ended, okay? People were they were standing up, getting that. I always wait until the last credit rolls. Someone that was sitting all the way behind me in the back, like all I hear is garbage. I look back and there's a dude just standing there, like just yelling garbage, and just walks off. He just could not hold his opinion on the movie. He had to let everybody know that film was garbage. I have never experienced that ever.
Now, I didn't see Blood Rain, but I saw House of the Dead
by
the same
terrible.
director.
Terrible.
That fucking movie, I love the fact that it's like a bunch of teens that are going to a rave in the middle of the day. It's a daytime rave on the island. And then when they get there, all these just random kids are like, oh, yeah, I know how to load an AK-47 and fire it. I can use the rocket launcher attachment. It just cuts to like Matrix bullet time where they're all like experts with this shit. And you're like, no.
I don't know why they would stray away from the video game. It's supposed to be based on the popular video game like you play like in fucking Dave and Buster's, right? Yeah, that's terrible. Because that video game is dope. Like, that's the only game I play when I go to, like, when I see that game anywhere, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go play House of the Dead. Why did you do that? A rave in the morning? Like, what is this?
Why did they do it with any of these video games, these horror video games? They're like, oh, we've got a whole story with Resident Evil. Let's do none of those. Let's make our own story up.
I mean, at least that one wasn't as terrible as, these other ones that have come out.
There's like 7 Resident Evil movies, and there might be 2 good ones if you cut all the parts.
Just the first one.
Ones.
That's
the first one, and then the one where they're out in the desert is not bad.
It's okay. I like the second one because there's more. It's Nemesis, There's still, but once they like go into the whole like I'm the 25th clone and now I'm a hologram, it's too much. Anywho, back to Jeepers Creepers 2.
As we digress,
Jeepers Creepers. Yeah, Ray Wise. Fantastic job. Like, he went in there, he killed it. He's super fucking convincible. Like, he's like, this is what I'm doing. I'm sorry, not convincible. Convincing. Look, guys, backstory on me, because we don't really get into like who we are as people. I had insomnia for a whole year of my life in my earlier days, and that ate away a lot of my brain. That's not a lie. It's definitely when you have sleep, fucked up sleep stuff, it takes away years of your life.
And then we've only slept about 3 hours today, too.
Yeah, I've only gotten 3.5 hours of sleep. My daughter woke up this morning at 4 a.m. She's been up ever since then. And it's also her birthday. So happy birthday, Zadie. And it's just been a fucked up day, so I am so sorry. I probably said that earlier, so I mean convincing, because that's an actual fucking word, not convincible. It sounds convincing.
There you go.
I like it, convincible. Can we just we're going to add to the fucking Urban Dictionary. There you go, boom, now it's a fucking word.
We're going to say that's when people in a bad movie try to convince you of something. They were trying to be convincible.
Yeah, they're trying to be convincible. Convincing. Okay, go ahead. They're not convincing. And the other thing about the film is I just want the creeper, I just want him to like do fucked up shit, which he does some really fucked up shit. And there's some pretty decent like effects for its time.
Yeah, I mean, they relied a little bit on CGI in this, but that's mostly for the scenes where he's flying. They didn't do a whole lot with, trying to do the blood and all that kind of stuff. You can tell that was practical, which is great because you never get more convincing effects than you do with practical ones. Because some of that shit from 40 years ago still looks good, but you can see something from 5 years ago, even like on The Walking Dead, where they do all the blood effects with CGI. It's so fake when you just see the blood splatter on someone. They just don't react like they've been splattered with blood, you know?
At least spray the bitch with some fucking water on her face or his face, like, so they have a reaction to it.
Yeah.
And not just like, oh yeah, that's when blood is supposed to be splattered on your face. And it's like, you could be a good actor, but that's something that you can't really... I mean, you can put your hand up, I guess.
But you can't really act like... It's very hard to do that convincingly, especially when you don't know where it's going to land.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's good to see the practical effects on it. And they do some great stuff with the creeper, like his anatomy, where he gets stabbed. And I love how the fact that they just, like the football team or whatever they were, just happened to have a javelin on board. That came in handy, didn't it?
They got it from, like, under the floorboards.
They pulled it up under the seats. They're like, hey, somebody left a javelin on here. Well, shit, wasn't that convenient?
It was convenient. It does save them, but then it bites them back. Karma's a bitch, man. It bites them back badly.
I did love the bus driver when they found the flare gun in there, and he said, what the hell kind of emergency road kit is this? And the bus driver just goes, look, I've had problems in the past, okay? It's like, God damn, driving the bus is rougher than I thought.
It's just like fucking Mad Max. Yeah,
I'm just picturing her like hanging out the window with the flare gun, shooting at another car, you know. What the hell happened on this bus?
Some fucked up shit. Well, obviously, she did not make it, so she did not have enough shit in that toolbox.
She should have had more stuff in there, apparently. But, yeah, I don't know. I do like the fact, I like the kind of horror movies where they're like set in one location like this. Because most of this pretty much takes place in the school bus or around the school bus, and then at the one people's farm. And it's always a good idea, I always like it when they do that because it makes you much more imaginative about how you have to do your story then,
Yeah, you definitely have to. I mean, they spend a lot of time, like I said, they spend too much time on like all the bullshit, but at least they were doing something because you only have like the cornfield, you have the Ray Wise's house, which they're there for the montage. The rest is really in the school bus.
Yeah.
And then more cornfield action and the other, opposite of the cornfield. It's definitely a cost-effective way to, like, save money.
Yeah, what was that other one we saw that we really liked? The Monster.
Oh, yes.
The name of that, where the car breaks down in the middle of the road, and it's really just the one car, the tow truck, and some of the woods around there. That one was a really good movie because they made use of like all practical effects, but they kept the monster hidden. You didn't really see it to the end. It had a very strange way that it moved and everything. They really put some thought into the monster in that one, and I appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they definitely did. And then there was a backstory. They had character development for their characters, and there was like 3 characters, right?
Yeah. So like in the whole show, it was 3 people.
So yeah, that was a pretty decent creature film.
Yeah.
And just movie overall. But there's certain ways you can do it, and it can, be a good story and have a good setting, but yet not cost. Like Paranormal Activity, I'm not going to say that's the best movie ever, but it's one of, so it's like they start doing the one location thing, one or 2 location, and you don't have to pay all this other bullshit. But you were telling me that the scenes where the school bus, they're actually like in what, like a hangar?
Yeah, so they're in an aircraft hangar.
Yeah, that's
when they're doing the inside, the interiors, they're like in an old airplane hangar that they're using for. Which I guess I can see that because you got to do is turn the lights out around it, and you can't see anything. You put it in the middle of the hangar, you're not going to see anything further than 5 feet outside the window.
Yeah, it just looks like they're outside.
Yeah, so they did a good job with that.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. That just looks really good.
What I kind of wish they had done is they make it a point of showing some other people. Like they run into a car that they passed earlier, and they got passed out.
Yeah, these people, this parents, the guy and his wife.
Yeah, they passed the car earlier. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. They passed the car earlier, waving at them, and then you see like an exterminator that they passed earlier. I thought it would have been kind of cool if the creeper had set some kind of trap like out there on the road, and it, stranded all the cars. Then you get a mix of the people, like you just have some random people in the cars and the kids from the school bus and all that, and then it would have been a little bit more, I don't know, it'd been a little more interesting to have some other people mixed in with it,
I did like that the couple, the elderly couple that were driving, When you see the car again, it's smashed up against a tree, but the hood looks like a fucking can, like peeled off, like a tuna can, like a tuna fish
roof,
can.
I mean.
The roof. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he just looks like he just flew down, peeled the roof off, and then just took them out.
Yeah, that was actually, I was just like, oh shit, that's fucking nuts. Like nothing, because it looks like it was effortless for him.
Yeah, he just peeled it off and took them out, like literally, like you said, like they were sardines in a can. He just pulled them out and had some dinner there.
Yeah, so that was pretty wild. But yeah, that would have been cool if he was like setting up traps and whatnot. But he's hungry. He's not thinking about like making any kind of fancy bullshit. He's like, I'm hungry. There's people. I'm gonna eat them. And I guess he had to have eaten them because they're all driving along the same highway. He flies away for some periods of time in the school bus, so he's not there the whole time. He's kind of like taunting them because he's like kind of like hunting them. He's like,
and he
they
could
know
have
they're
gotten
stranded. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and they could have gotten these other people earlier in the day too, because they find the cars later at night. But he could have got them like right after we saw them. He could have got them because he didn't want them to go and tell anyone about the bus.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, because he was watching everything from the cornfield. So it was a pretty, I give the film 2.5 knives.
Yeah, I'd go along with that too. I'd say 2.5. There's some things about it I didn't like, but generally, as far as sequels go to this kind of movie, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent sequel. I like the concept. I like, there's not a lot of creature, like man creatures, like things, you always have like it's a serial killer or like a ghost or whatever. There's like specific. This one is like it could be a thing, like it could be some animal, like ancient being or something that's living underground that no one is gonna know about because it's fucking deep in like the burrowed in like the earth. It's only going to come out every so often, and then anytime you do hear, kind of like urban legend, anytime you do hear like, oh, massive amounts of people were killed in like this one area, and then you never hear about any other killings until like 20 years later.
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting concept, and I like the whole like, he's out for like 23, he's like kind of like, I was going to say the Amish people, they have to go out to like, the city to like,
the Rumspringa where they have to go. Yeah,
he's gonna go and experience. He's like, I'm out for 23 days, guys. I'm gonna do my 23-day spree. Eat it up, grab some bitches, drag them out. We don't see him in his lair again, though.
Yeah, well, they did burn it down in the first movie.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he has another one. He has another lair. Did they?
Yeah, well, they didn't. But then, like later on, they reported, like in the movie, they had him like say, "Hey, you might want." They didn't believe Justin Long and that Gina Phillips. They didn't believe him at first. They were kind of like just following him, like, "Yeah, we'll follow them until they get out of town, make sure they're okay." Then they radioed the cops and said, like, "Hey, there might be something to those kids' stories. We just found an old church out here that caught on fire, and when we went down in it, there were hundreds of bodies." Yeah,
well, but at the end of the movie, well, mind you, I did have my eyes closed for a lot of that film because it freaked me the fuck out. But the end of the movie,
he's down in a lair somewhere, so he did have more than one. And I also read online
that was his summer home.
Yeah, there was supposed to be in this film there was a scene where they built him another lair, but they never used it. This would be like in an old bunker that was out there.
I do like that they. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say so. It's always weird when you hear about like that they built the entire set for that and then just went, nah, fuck it, we just won't bother.
Yeah,
like, that was a waste of money,
big time money. Unless they already had the set from the first one and they just had to like dress it up differently.
Maybe,
take Justin Long out. I do like the ending of the film because it reminded me of like an 80s or 90s movie.
Yeah, where they would flash forward.
Yeah, there's a flash forward to the film. I don't want to give away what it is, but there's a flash forward, and I was like, okay, it's a way to have a sequel.
But you don't have to have one for quite a while.
Correct. And it kind of like closes that one chapter, but kind of gives you a maybe, like, oh, maybe this is going to happen.
Now, I know there is a Jeepers Creepers 3 that came out last year, I believe, but I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, no, I think it came out like in 2015.
No, it was more recent than that.
Oh, okay. I know Carrie saw it in the theater. She went to actually go see that, which is weird because she is terrified by the creeper. So I don't know how she got like
you gotta confront your fears sometimes.
That's true. Well, she definitely did. Well, that concludes our second serving. I hope you got your fill. And come back for some more grub and next month when we're going to do some other sequel to a film.
It might even be a sequel to a movie that the sequel has nothing to do with the original.
Maybe. We don't know. You tell us. Just gotta keep it ambiguous. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us on Instagram, Jumpscare. And also we're on Facebook as the Orlando Horror Society. Shoot us, a review, something. Let us know that you're out there. You're listening. We see that you're listening. Someone's listening out there. We would like to know, is there a movie you would like for us to cover? We kind of cover all kinds of things. We're not really in one direction. We gotta do new, old, usually stuff that we'll find on this one. We owned it, so it was a double feature like Shad said at the beginning, so we didn't have to go look for it anywhere streaming wise. I think streaming wise you actually have to pay for it like $2.99 or $3.99 via Vudu, Amazon Prime, but we usually do those streaming services, Tubi. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.